a deliberate exploitation of humanity that only increases emissions. This is Ronald Stein. He's an engineer, senior policy advisor on the energy literacy of the Heartland Institute, and co-author of the Pulitzer Prize-nominated book Clean Energy Exploitations. Welcome to the podcast, Ronald Stein.
Armando, glad to be aboard.
Excellent. Ronald, please, the US wants green electricity. It's clear. Let me remove this one and put here. The US wants electricity and wants to abandon crude oil. It's what we can see from Brazil, for instance, to reduce emissions. But reducing internal emissions and exporting emissions to increase in other countries is the logic.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, they want to decrease emissions from oil. And it's interesting because of the three fossil fuels, you have coal, natural gas, and oil. Coal and natural gas is heavily used for generation of electricity. And by the way, it's continuous, uninterruptible electricity. So wind and solar can't replace coal and natural gas because wind and solar only provide intermittent electricity. In fact, they don't work most of the time. But they want to basically eliminate the oil part of it. And in doing so, if you want to make wind turbines and solar panels and EV batteries, all the products to make them are the exotic minerals and metals that are not in the United States. I mean, there's a couple here, but with our labor laws and environmental laws, it'd be humongously expensive to get them. And so we basically leak that to other countries, China, Africa, parts of Brazil, and let them basically do the mining with very little environmental laws and virtually no labor laws. And so, we're basically exploiting humanity. People have yellow, brown, and black skin are mining for these exotic minerals and metals so we in America can go green.
Yeah. And do the leaders of these countries that are accepting this dirty work, do they know about these issues or they do not know? They are ignorant?
I don't think they know it because obviously it's I think it's unethical and immoral to exploit humanity in other countries for your benefit and to encourage environmental degradation on their land so we can go green. I think I've told you before, the reason I won't even buy an EV after writing the book Clean Energy Exploitations, I know where the lithium and cobalt's coming from. And I'm not willing to financially support that humanity atrocities and the environmental degradation. On the contrary, our government is. They're providing tax incentives and all kinds of, breaks, to buy your EVs. And I think it's unethical and immoral, but hey, you can't argue with the government.
Yeah, and do you believe that this situation can be reverted for any factor that we cannot control?
Well, it can't be changed because, like you say, if they still want to pursue electric vehicles, the exotic metals have to come from foreign countries because that's where they are. We don't have it here. We can't change direction and produce lithium and cobalt here. And it's just not going to happen. The real concern or confusion is they want to have an abundance of wind and solar. But wind and solar is totally different from electricity from hydro, nuclear, natural gas, and coal, because that's continuous and uninterruptible. Armando, today we got airports all over the world. We got hospitals all over the world. Didn't exist 200 years ago. They can't survive on occasional electricity. Computers, get one little glitch, you got to reboot. If you're on the operating table, the lights go out.
But the production of wind and solar and the consumption of EVs are increasing. No doubts about that. Or do you have doubts about this?
Well, there's a lot of momentum to, put more and more wind turbines and solar panels out there. I, I own a Mercedes, and I got an email yesterday from the Mercedes dealer. They got EVs for sale. They have 400 EVs on their property, and
Wow.
they're offering discounts to buy them.
Wow.
So 400. Whoa. And yeah,
And one dealer.
one dealer. Yes, one dealer.
Imagine how many dealers you have of Mercedes in
Yeah.
California.
Well, I know the dealer here it's in Newport Beach, and so it is a big dealer, but that's 400 EVs for sale.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's like I say, I mean, all the dealers are basically getting a lot of stockpile and they're just not moving because, as we mentioned, the elites have bought them. The elites will continue to buy them, but Armando, we're running out of elites. Now we're getting down to the common folk, and they need a workhorse vehicle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ronald, you frequently use the expression wind turbines and solar panels only generate occasional electricity and intermittent.
Right.
Uh, but there is a point that I would like to ask you. If we double the green generation quantity using batteries, inefficient batteries, and natural gas as backup, is it a solution or is not a solution?
Well, I don't think the batteries is the backup because the batteries they tend to get big and bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, just like, the Tesla, the sedan has a 1,000-pound battery. And just put this in perspective, the 18-wheeler here in California, we want 18-wheelers to go electric. Well, the 18-wheeler battery is 16,000 pounds. And you can just imagine the size of the battery for storage. And again, all that material to build a battery is coming from countries that don't have any environmental controls and no labor controls. And you're right, we do need a backup because, when you talk about electrical generation, there's two different kinds. You got wind and solar that only generate electricity when wind's blowing and the sun's shining, versus all the others, hydro, nuclear, natural gas, and coal. And it's pretty much continuous all year round. And, our society, the computers, the military, all the telemetry, I mean, they need continuous electricity.
And when you say electricity, you mean that we need grid every time bigger grids, stronger grids. And to install and to develop grids, it takes time because you need to construct, design, construct, implement. Uh, so how is the change of timeline of grids and electricity increase?
Well, like I say, if you have an existing grid, then you just have to increase the size of the wires. But if you got to put in a new grid, putting in a transmission line across country that doesn't exist is almost as tough as building a refinery, because a refinery, you get the permit from one area. When you're building a transmission line, every community you go through,
That's
you
right.
got to get the permit. So it takes forever to get a permit just to build the transmission line. So, yeah, transmission lines are critical to our needs, but they take a lot of planning to put them in.
And speed of EVs and green energy, the speed is higher. It's different.
It's putting a lot of load, at one time because everybody wants to charge the car at the same time, and yeah, it's going to be a real challenge. But the question is, there really is no green energy because, as we mentioned, all these minerals and metals, they're green at our end because we're the consumer, but the supply, they're dirty. Lithium mining and strip mining, it's atrocious mining. And, it's green here, but it's pretty dirty over there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. Ronald, International Energy Agency, they say that in 2045, petrochemicals will be more dominant in oil use than today. But the question is, who is investing in petrochemical plants in the world? The US, I'm not sure that's doing that. And China, India, other countries, all other countries, not USA, not UK.
Well, I know Asia is planning on building 88 new refineries. So, United States, we can shut all of ours down, and we'll just get all of our products from Asia. We're getting all the exotic minerals and metals from Asia, so why not get all the products? It's the interesting thing, Armando. Since 2019, gasoline consumption in the world hit a peak. And since that time, we now have around the world 30 million EVs all around the world. And since the pandemic, there's hundreds of millions of people that are not going to work as often, people working virtually. And so if they're not going to work as much, they're not driving as much. So with 30 million EVs on the road and hundreds of millions of workers not driving as much, crude oil consumption exceeded the peak last year. 4 years after 2019 peak, they hit another peak last year, primarily because these EVs are second vehicles. They're parked on the garage most of the time. They're not being used. If you want to go a distance, you bring out the workhorse vehicle, which is a gasoline-driven vehicle. And so, yeah, it's like I say, gasoline consumption is going up at the same time, quote, quote, EVs are, sales are going through the roof.
But Ronald, if a country does not have petrochemical plants or do not construct new ones, will import more products from abroad.
Exactly. Yes, we'll be importing, the fuels and gasoline, diesel, et cetera, et cetera. It's got to come from somewhere to, support society. And all the products that come from the oil derivatives, it'll be coming from overseas.
That's a big problem for the future, because the financial balance will be unbalanced.
Oh yeah, it's like I say, I think California, we basically are a national security risk for the entire country of America, because you remember the oil embargo back in '73, when OPEC basically shut off the supply of oil. It devastated the country of America. Everybody's lined up for, getting gasoline. Well, that was in '73. And the Department of Energy was formed. And the main goal of the DOE was, don't let that happen again. 50 years have gone by. Now, back in '73, California had a lot of oil production and production from the state of Alaska. Between Alaska and California, we provided 95% of California's needs. We were 95% independent, 5% dependent on foreign oil. 50 years have gone by. And today, the DOE has grown to like 14,000 employees, 14,000 employees, and have an annual budget of $42 billion. And they have basically allowed California, fourth largest economy in the whole world, to grow its dependency on foreign oil from 5% back then. We're now more than 60% dependent on foreign oil. Now, granted, it's not OPEC, it's friendlier countries, but it's imported oil. And we have 9 international airports throughout the state. We're a big state. 41 military airports, and 3 of the largest shipping ports in all of America, basically being run by foreign oil. We are a national security risk for the entire country of
no
America.
doubts, but today the U.S. is the most important producer of oil, 13 million barrels a day.
Yes, but you have to remember that
California,
we're an energy island, because California, between California and the rest of the country, is the range of mountains. And there's no pipelines over those mountains. So all that oil in the Midwest that was fracked, California, the only way we can access that oil is send it through the Panama Canal. And it takes less time to bring it from OPEC.
Yeah, because in my opinion, energy security means, among several other meanings, having a good geographical distribution of energy to avoid
Exactly.
shortage.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
California is going exactly the opposite direction.
Right. Right. And California is proud of it. We're going green. Well,
Oh my!
there's a cost
Importing.
to it. There's a cost to it.
My
And
God.
like you say, it's, and everything, it's so expensive to live here in California. Everything's going up. Cost of living's up. We pay the highest for fuel. We pay the highest for electricity, and it just reverberates throughout the whole society. And we have a growing homeless population because, as you know, most people live paycheck to paycheck, and you're probably one paycheck away from being homeless if you can't make all your payments. And so it's a sad situation that here we are, and our
Yeah,
governor
but
is
Ronald,
consistent. Go ahead.
but California choosing to becoming green, more green every day, but of course taking care of the mineral production at the same time to become green or no.
Well, we're not concerned about the mineral production because it's over there, and that's the crux of the whole matter. Is you can't quote go green unless you take advantage of what's happening in China and Africa, and take advantage of, everything's so expensive here. You have to do it at a place where it's less expensive. And yes, it's less expensive to have China do it. It's less expensive to do it in Africa and, parts of Brazil. But, you're just exploiting people that have, yellow, brown, and black skin.
Yeah, but the governor and his advisors, they do not know about they are losing control, it's losing oil production internally, losing minerals. So something is wrong.
I better not say anything.
Oh my God.
But
It's
yes,
tragic.
yes, you're right. I mean, I would love to have a conversation with Governor Newsom and talk about this, but it's a one-sided presentation. He speaks in the microphone. We're going green. He's banned the sale of internal combustion engines. Everybody has to buy an EV. He's not backing away from that. But the repercussion is what's happening around the world because of that policy. And it's like I say, I better stay quiet.
So China, BRICS in general, are the countries that are controlling mineral production, and they are geopolitical, let's see, in the opposition of the West,
Yeah.
Europe and the United States at the same time.
Well, let
So
me let me put it in perspective. When you take
yeah,
a look at the wealthy countries, which is the United States, the UK, Australia, Germany, the wealthy countries only represent like maybe 6% of the population of the world,
that's right.
and the other 94% is the ones that they're developing their country. They don't live the same lifestyle we live because of the 8 billion on this planet, we know that there's more than 6 billion people living on less than $10 a day. And it's like I say, those wealthy countries could literally be wiped off the face of the earth. Every person, vehicle, manufacturer, just get rid of them. And the result would be the other, 94% of the population, emissions would explode. I mean, these people are still burning cow dung for heat. And like I say, it's the wealthy countries that are, setting the policy for these developing countries that, like I say, $10 a day, they can't afford an iPhone, let alone an EV. They may never join the Industrial Revolution because the separation between the developed countries and the underdeveloped countries is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Uh, you and me will be together on IPSIRA event on March 25th, and we will talk about logistics and supply chain. And
Yes.
my point for you now is so logistics is still very dependent on fluids, and, liquid and gas, not solid energy. let's say, as batteries are.
Yes.
So how do you see the impact in logistics situation with the electrification of the fleet?
Well, I think there's too much emphasis on the emissions that come from, quote, fossil fuels, because you're right. There's nothing perfect. There's nothing perfect in the world. And are some people going to die from emissions that are local to them? Probably. But take a look at the good side of it. The world populated from 1 to 8 billion in those last 200 years, not because of oil, but because of the products we get from oil. Basically, I'm anti-oil. I'm pro-products, but right now there's no other way to get those products. The iPhones, the toothpaste, washing machines. I mean, everything everything in our daily lives. And before oil was used to make the products, people lived to like 40 years of age. Now we're living to 80 and 80 plus. And here in the United States, we got two 80-year-olds running for president. I mean, you know, it's no one's really looking at the pros of what basically the products have done for society.
Yeah.
And
Ronald,
good.
if you do not manufacture a product close to your consumption area, the total cost of logistics will increase because you need to import everything from long and far
Well,
places.
exactly. Today we got there's 50,000 merchant ships. There's 20,000 commercial jets. There's 50,000 military jets. And yeah, if you don't make it here and you make it somewhere else, the merchant ships will bring it here. Well,
Of
today,
course.
we got 8 billion people on this planet. And ironically, to keep them fed and healthy with, medications and things like that, that's what these merchant ships are doing. They're moving products and food and medicines all over the world. And none of them are electric. So
Yeah, yeah.
a merchant ship is not electric.
Do you believe that's a clever strategy from BRICS and other countries to capture this manufacturing process and to sell to the United States for the future?
I don't know if it's their goal, but I think the wealthy countries that are driving manufacturing out of their country, like the United States, they're the recipients of, quote, our green policies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But at the same time, when you teach people to manufacture, to operate manufacturing plants outside your country, they learn and they adapt and they have evolution and they dominate a process, technology process with
Well,
time.
yes, because we become the demand side, they have the supply,
Exactly.
and it's he who has the supply runs the show. We can have all the demand we want, but if there's no supply out there, we're going to pay the highest price to get it, type thing. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, it really just drives up the price. And yeah, we're putting them in a great negotiating position because we
exactly.
can't compete with them.
Yeah. So we could say that Texas is the China. Texas is for California as China is for the United States, because Texas is absorbing, is capturing some manufacturing plants. No.
Exactly right. They're like, I think California is probably the greenest state in the country. So we can't do anything here. But yeah, most other states are a little more flexible, and you can get permits to build something. And like I say, when you have strong environmental controls in the United States, some states are stronger than others. You actually reduce world emissions if you manufacture it in a controlled environment.
Yeah. Do you believe that California feels that are so competent, so creative, that can design, plan, and leave manufacturing plants is by own competence? Is something like this.
I'm not sure what California's believing. Like you say, every time our governor speaks, it seems like there's another industry leaving. Um, yeah, it's tough. And not only industries are leaving, people are starting to leave California too, because the cost of living is just atrocious here, and it just keeps going up and up and up.
And are there too much environmental organizations in California that are forcing the government to take these decisions?
Well, yes, they pretty much follow what he's saying,
Oh,
and yeah, so
like
you know,
Germany.
yeah, he sets the plan in motion, and then all the different organizations, set policies, make laws, and just they're just following the speech of the governor.
Interesting. So the conclusion for today is let's pray to California change a little bit the directions because it's so bad at this time, as
Well,
you're saying.
I would like to pray for conversations. That would be, I think, the best thing, because you know the governor can have any plan he wants, but there's repercussions. And you know, like I say, you have most people living, paycheck to paycheck. I think here in the United States, I think the average debt for an individual is like $100,000. In between home mortgages and credit cards and school loans and just the cost of living.
100,000 per person.
Yes, yes. And as a result, a lot of these people can't afford to buy a new car. Most people don't buy new cars, they buy used cars. And as you mentioned, there's no used car market in EVs. And and then again, they're not the workhorse. You can't depend on them. And so it's like I say, there's got to be a discussion. And how are you going to get the common folk who living paycheck to paycheck
Uh,
to step up and buy an EV?
yeah, that's right. And most Californians, do they have daily by day? Work outside home. They move every day. It's a big part of the population that work
Have
go to
you
work.
have you seen our freeways?
Yeah, yeah, crowds. Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of vehicles here, and we have close to 40 million people. And yeah, whenever you're going somewhere, you usually plan it around the clock. When people are going to work or coming home from work, those are the hours you want to avoid the freeways. And so, yeah, you pretty much use the clock to determine where you're going to go and when you're going to go. But if you have to go at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you just have to add a lot of extra time
oh
to
my,
get there.
yeah,
Yeah. So there's even with all these EV, of course, I don't count the EVs because they're parked in the garage. They're not on the freeway during going to work time and coming home time. Um, but I keep thinking of the hundreds of millions of people throughout the world that are working virtually and don't have to drive into the office as often as they used to. And even with those cars not quote on the freeway's still messed up.
tell me something that's important to understand. If a gasoline car stops on the road because the tank is empty, you
Mhm.
can come and with a gallon, portable gallon, and fill up the tank and fill
Right,
or put a little
right.
bit to move to a service station. What do you do in the same case for an EV?
Push it off to the side.
Because the time to replace a battery or to charge
No,
something.
you don't have time to charge it, quote, on the road. I mean, it takes hours to do that. Yeah, you just have to tow it off, get it off the freeway, because, just a parked vehicle slows down traffic because people are looking at the vehicle and, is there something wrong and that type of thing. And so, yeah, just, you know, it's just an obstacle to take people's attention away from looking at the road.
No doubt. Dangerous. Yes,
Yes.
really is. Ronald Stein, let's pray to California. No, no, no. Let's pray to have more conversation. That's
More conversation. That's what it's got to be.
Thank you so much. A pleasure again. Having
Armando,
you here.
have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Okay.